Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lyfe Boost here. My name is Ryan, and I would like to thank you all for listening to my podcast today. I'm available on over 35 podcasting channels. Please follow and subscribe to my content. Today, I'm speaking with a man that has been making a change within the world of law enforcement. He's been a hero towards first responders throughout Canada and Alberta. He's currently a sheriff in Alberta, and he's been in this career for over 13 years. He's been making a huge impact within the world that we live in today, and he is changing lives for first responders. There's been a big issue in regards to first responders in seeking help, assistance, and actually getting the right services to be successful within the career itself. And this man here is really trying to make that impact around the world. And we're here today to try to save lives. We're here to try to make a difference. I'm really excited to even have the privilege to speak with this man. He is making an impact for those around the whole world, and I really just want to thank you. I'd like to introduce my good friend here, Chad Kennedy. How are you doing?
Good, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I just wanted to thank you for coming on to my interview and being able to speak with me today.
Hey, thanks for having me on board.
He has been making a difference within his company called SeatoSea4PTSD, and it's a huge difference within the community that we are living in throughout Canada. And it's great to see that individuals today are making that change. And my question to you is, within your foundation, how did it all start?
Well, Ryan, I'm with the Alberta Sheriff's Highway Patrol. I that has been my career with the sheriffs since I started in 2008, from an outside agency right into the Highway Patrol. Um, my first tour was in Fort McMurray, Highway 63, the Highway of Carnage, as it used to be called. I was exposed to a lot of horrible atrocities on the highway, and sort of accumulated pretty horrible memories from up there. 2011, I transferred down to the Bow Valley, so Banff, Canmore, Cochrane area. Uh, 2017, I started noticing a big shift in my personality. Everything was a lot of fight or flight. Um, with the support of others, I reached out to my doctor, and every indicator there, due to my career, was focused around post traumatic stress. So at that point, I was, you know, Alberta Mental Health stepped in and got me into a psychiatrist right away, thankfully. And then the adventure of being sent to a psychologist. Psychologist, unfortunately, that had no um,
Caring or
no I
understanding?
well, yeah, there was no understanding of what I was going through as somebody in the emergency service field. So after a few sessions, I was frustrated. I walked away, and I'm finding out now that so many other people, when they ask for help, and that right help isn't there, they walk away from treatment. So fortunately, I was um, prescribed some medication, which got me through the rough points. And I felt I was doing okay. Didn't realize that all these bad things were still filed away in my head. And
Did,
then, sorry.
did you find that the pills were just a bridgestone towards your success and not your full potential, or did you find that it was kind of just a buffer for your emotions?
Well, you know what? Really a buffer for my emotions. When the meds were kicked in, um, there was no anger, no anger at all. It was, just a happy-go-lucky guy doing my stuff. But when the meds wore off, halfway through a shift on an evening shift, that rage started building. So there was all this energy built up inside of me. I had no idea how to move it. So I just, I just coped. Um, had to really sit back and evaluate things before I reacted to anything, both in my personal life and at work. Um, so yeah, I carried on, and then last July 18th, in Jasper National Park, there was a horrific bus crash at the ice fields. There
Yeah,
was
I heard about
myself,
that. Yeah.
yeah, myself and five other um, law enforcement personnel that literally we were 10 minutes away from this scene. So we were first on scene, obviously, and with the aid of some volunteer search and rescue people that worked at the ice fields. There we are with this carnage, with all these people broken and battered, few fatalities. There was uh, no medical resources per se, no paramedics, no EMTs, no fire department, and here we are left with some blankets and little tiny first aid kits that are useless in a situation like that. Um,
Completely pointless to even carry.
well, really, like unless you come across somebody who's got a splinter,
Yeah.
like really they're. But I've got to say that's the tools that were issued um, for day to day operations. It's a first aid kit, and it would get us by in a pinch. But when you're dealing with mass casualties, where people are broken and battered, a tensor bandage or a bandage doesn't do anything for those people. Um, so at that scene, after an hour and 20 minutes, I was actually relieved from the crash scene. My role was to go down to the visitor center at the ice fields and set up a staging area for ground ambulance crew and stars. So I was taken away from the carnage of it all, but now my worry is up on the mountain with my my partners, my friends, my brothers. And after a long day of dealing with all that shit and horror, we can joke around um, um, amongst each other. There's always going to be the police or law enforcement versus firefighter jokes. Um, it was at that point that I realized, you know what, the resources of fire and EMS and paramedics are so essential, and they're such a huge tool. And it's stuff that we're not trained in as um, law enforcement folks. Yeah, you appreciate how the machine works, and everybody's got their role. Um, so it was, right after the crash. We had a critical incident debrief that was, I got to say, it was an utter joke. Um, it was six of us in a room with a psychological professional. Um, so for 2 hours and a bit, we were just able to basically all tell the same story, get it off our chest, but there was no follow up. And then right after that, I was slated for pre-planned vacation. Went on vacation, um, and I wasn't able to talk about what I had witnessed that day. So that's frustrating. I mean, I could talk about it, but am I going to fill everybody in on the horrors that I witnessed? So I just kept it bottled up. Really, a lack of sleep, um, and just kept going back to the scene and picking out key elements that just scarred my brain. So when I got back from vacation, I reached out on a social media platform, just venting my story with a bunch of other first responders, and some guy, um, just a guy, Terrence Kozakar from Camp My Way in British Columbia, sent me a little voice clip. It's, "Hey brother, let's go fishing." I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? So I Googled him and realized this guy's a really big deal in the world of post traumatic stress, and so I reached out to him. So the unconventional method of psychological help didn't help me before. So perhaps Camp My Way will be, my awesome disconnect, reconnect with myself, Mother Nature, reset and recover. So I went out to Camp My Way with a couple of my brothers from the bus crash. Felt great. Got back from there, and things started slowly going downhill for me. I started avoiding collisions, even though I'm literally, well, the one in December, I was 40 seconds away from, and I avoided it for 10 to 15 minutes. I just kept writing speeding tickets because that's what I do, knowing that other people were on their way to the crash. And then reality kicked in that I should probably attend. So there was huge disconnect and fear, the fear of seeing somebody else broken and battered. Um, but I just attributed that to complacency in where I was working. Um, Asked for a transfer from the Bow Valley area to High River, which I received January 2nd. I got to move to the High River Patrol area, but even there, I was avoiding the busy highways, where bad shit's going to happen. Um, Went back out to Camp My Way, came back refreshed, and then February 4th, I got to the point where um, I was looking for reasons to not hit the highway and go out and do my job. So then and you think from August until February, and I'll get back to the C2C thing in a second, but from August to February, after announcing C2C for PTSD campaign, here I am on this advocate platform for mental or emotional well-being amongst emergency services in the military community. But I was didn't recognize the signs myself. So my sergeant actually kicked my ass to go see a doctor, and weird that to me it was weird, that all of a sudden I'm off work now, and now going through the WCB process, and the really receiving the help that I need as a first responder. So going back to August of last year, I was sitting in the backyard one day, and I'm like, man, nobody understands the language I'm speaking. In the real world, nobody understands the anger, the PTS demon that's in my head, and I didn't know how to put all that anger into the English language. The one person, well, there were hundreds of people that reached out to me, but here's Terrence Kosakar, who picks me out of 2,000 people to reach out, and for lack of better terms, and he'll disagree, but he saved me. And I'm like, man, how can I, if a stranger and a big dog in the field of PTS recovery, and if he's able to reach out to me as a total stranger, how can I help just one other human being, um, that talks the language of post traumatic stress? And I'm thinking, we need um, serious awareness out there. Our management, our government, our medical professionals, the public need to know that we are human beings. Underneath that uniform, we are human beings, and we are exposed to shit that nobody should ever see. We're not heroes. Um, that Superman outfit comes off at the end of the day, and then we're just a human being. We're not hiding behind anything. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna walk the country, and I'm gonna be a voice for those who can't or won't speak up about
Very
their
beautiful.
injury. Just a lot of people, post traumatic stress, is such a personal injury, and they're afraid to speak up. They're afraid of what their peers are going to think. They're afraid of what their family's going to think. They're afraid of what management's going to think of them, which is really unfortunate. Um, when we reach out for help, and a lot of us are told to just suck it up. This is what you signed up for. Um, it's no different with the people, both the provincial corrections and federal corrections that have reached out to me and shared their stories with me. It's like, no, we have a serious problem. We're not taking care of each other. We would rather kick the, you know, quote, kick the weak ones to the curb. You know what? We have no room for weakness. And I'm like, man, if I break a leg, I go to the doctor, I get time off work, and nobody thinks any different of me. Well, it's, well, he's got a cast on his leg. He can't work. He'll recover. It's good. No different than what we have. It's the invisible injury. People just aren't getting it. So it's we started this campaign. Um, yeah, April 2nd, 2022. Going to be kicking off in Vancouver,
Very cool.
and
Very cool.
walking our way right across to St. John's, Newfoundland. And it's been a long journey. I didn't realize the impact that this would have on others. Just promoting, this is what I want to do, and then having the right people jump on board. People like you who reach out and want to hear my story and allow me to share my story on your platforms, gets the word out. So I've been, really blessed. People from, I'll tell you, the support not only from Canada but the United States has been phenomenal. And then there's people in 8 other countries around the world that are reaching out to me and watching what I do on social media. And it's flattering, it's overwhelming in such a good way that um, I hope I'm making a difference. But and there's no way to measure it. You um, yeah, my only goal was to reach out and save one person, or inspire one person to share their story, get out, move energy. Um, how do you measure how many people you've affected? Because you can't just look at your social media platforms and say, "Oh, well, this, 20 people liked what I had to say." It's the people behind the scenes that reach out, um, just out of nowhere and send me a personal message or an email and say, "Man, you know what? You've inspired me. I've gotten off my ass. I'm out walking. I'm learning to move energy. I'm learning to talk about my injury." Um,
And just
yeah. So
spreading the actual awareness, saying that you do have a problem, and it's okay to say that there is a problem. And the issue is that people around us are not accepting that. Sorry, excuse me.
it's
But
okay.
I do find that in the world that we're living in right now, first responders have been under the blanket, especially within Alberta. And I think that you're trying to make that substantial impact, and it's going to go huge. I think that by you going across Canada and making a difference everywhere and really spreading love and awareness and showing people that it's okay that you're in this position. It's okay. And we're going to try to help you. We're going to make
Yeah,
sure you're successful. We're going to make sure that it's okay for you to go home and see your family. We want to ensure that all of first responders get the care that they need. We need to make sure that they get the love that they need. And the issue is that within first responders and within law enforcement and within the emergency services itself, we all tend to have a very a personality that's like, okay, like I'm tough, I can handle it, I don't need to worry about it. It's the me mentality saying I'm better. But in reality, don't fight whatever your heart and your body and your soul is saying. Don't try
right.
to avoid that, because over time, you're going to have several health problems. Pills is only a bridge to your success. It is not
Yeah,
the answer. And the issue is that a lot of the government organizations and a lot of the people within the world we live in today just say, hey, here's a pill, everything's okay, have a nice day. But however, that pill is just buffering those emotions and not actually fixing the problem. And I
right.
really do think that, however, whatever strategic methods that you're seeing throughout Canada for first responders, I think that yours is very well diversified to the point where, you're able to go all across Canada. You're able to actually spread that awareness towards everyone. And it's an important story. It's a very important topic. And a lot of people need to realize that it's not just like within Canada, it's across the world. And
Yes.
and like he said, right? We are just as much as humans as anyone else. Everybody is treated like human, and it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter
Right.
what career you have. It's the fact that you have a heart, you have a soul, and everyone has a mind. And nobody can try to change or make any sense of impact if they're stuck in a position where they can't. And I've seen this, and it's happened to me where, within the job itself, you start breaking down because you're working so much of those 16-hour shifts, you're working so much of your overtimes, you're doing whatever you're trying to do, and you're trying to manage your life, but the government has you by the throat. What are you supposed to do? And
Yeah.
when you're with WCB and when you're trying to do things like that, why isn't there other services? Why aren't we speaking to professionals? Why are we not being trained on what we're learning at the academy and where we're learning this information? We do this to help the public, but why don't we do this for our officers? And the
Yes.
biggest thing is that we want to try to help and save lives, but however, I find that there needs to be more awareness within training. There needs to be more awareness within the process and the acceptance. And I also believe that, like this is just personal opinion, just to bring it out there. I really do think that everybody should be psychologically assessed every year. And there should be a psychologist for each department for within law enforcement so that we can ensure that our first responders, when they go out, they're not making the decisions that you were forced to make and the
Right.
decisions that happened in the first place. You know what I mean? Like this could have been fully prevented if you simply went to someone and said, "Hey, I need help." But by you even asking for help nowadays is impossible in law enforcement because what they'll do is they'll just blow you off or they'll just
Yeah.
like they just won't actually help you, and there's no actual substantial impact for your mental health in regards to that. You have to really seek out your own help, and that's the
Yes.
issue. We really need to start bringing in resources for first responders, and that's why I started my channel too. I started my channel to really promote mental health for first responders, and I've been getting a lot of positive feedback also, and I want to keep that movement going. I want to keep that energy flowing because it's such a beautiful topic that hasn't been recognized in a very long time. And
Right.
I'm so glad that that more people are trying to make change in the world. I'm happy that we're starting to see what the real life is after this pandemic. This pandemic has caused a lot of depression. It's caused a lot of issues throughout Canada. There has been more overdoses and there has been more suicides than COVID itself,
Yeah.
right? In Ontario, there's a news report about it. You can search it up, right?
Yeah.
And like literally, man, it's insane. Like, why are we having so many dudes just like going away when we can simply prevent that from happening by just showing
Yes.
love, teaching people how to love, teaching people how to express their problems, express their fears, right? Being an individual as myself, being previously abused as a child and being bullied as a kid and overcoming that and trying to overcome my own struggles, and then now when I work in law enforcement, now I have a situation where it's now screwed up my mind. Now I have so many other issues that I have to worry about in my life, and
Right.
it's not even just work, but I have to decide to step into that role because that's what I decided to do. Yes, it's something that I decided to do, but however, is it really worth your mental health? Is it really worth like really, right? And it's just like, why are we spending the time to really do this when we can make bigger impacts for people and actually try
Right.
to give a shit about people? Because if you give a shit and you try to actually say, hey, you go to your partner at the end of the shift and you say, hey, man, I'm having a bad day, bro. I really need to have a talk with you. And that is one tip that I really want to give to first responders. That's something that I want to give a tip to everyone is, you know, when you're having that rough day on a shift, when you're having a rough day with someone, don't be afraid to reach out to your coworkers and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to bring this home to my family. I really don't want to bring this home to my wife. I don't want to affect my marriage. I don't want to affect my life. Let's like, can you just give me some guided route to what I got to do?
Right.
And and the best part about doing that is you're not going to be sent to a mental health institution. You're not going to be sent to a psychologist, and you're actually going to get the problem solved faster. And
Right.
and at the end of the day, I know it sounds harsh, but it's the truth. And for right now, it is the truth. But we have the choice to really change that opinion. And and that's why I'm here today with you, a person that has accepted their problem. And that is one big thing for alternative health is accepting your issues and your problems and actually facing those demons and trying to actually release that. And the only way to really release that is by going fishing, taking time for yourself and not being so switched on. The issue
Right.
is that, you have so many first responders that are so switched on all the time, right? But then they forget to turn off the switch. And over
Yep.
time they bring it over to their family, they bring it over to everything. But at the end of the day, management's not auditing you. No one's auditing you about your mental health but you. And the
That's right.
thing is that I understand that you may want to keep that separate from your workplace, but however, if it is affecting your home life and if it's affecting your overall lifestyle, seek help, go to someone, talk to someone. It's not a problem. Nobody's going to bully you, nobody's going to harass you. And if people are doing that, then they really need to assess themselves as an individual because,
Well, but
like,
that's also where you find out who has got your back, who is in your circle. I'm like everybody else. I start talking about my PTS. My circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But the people within my circle right now, I trust with my life. These are people that I can have a conversation with. I will start a conversation, and people come, people go. But you realize real quick, you know, who your friends are. So I look at it this way: there are friends, and then there's friends in quotation marks. Um, your friends are there forever. Um, the friends that you've had over the last whatever 20 years, really, they're just friends, and they're not really there for you. And it's when you at the beginning, when people turn their back on you, you're like, what the fuck? Now I'm just a statistic and you've just forgotten about me. But as your circle gets smaller, man, the people legitimately that are there for me didn't turn their back on me, didn't walk away from me or turn me off like a bad movie. They are there. And I can reach out to them via phone. I can call them anytime. Hey, man, I just need to talk. The biggest thing people don't understand, and just through my life experiences, I don't need a solution. I don't need you to tell me where to go, how to get there. We're going to get you treatment. A lot of times I just need to puke out all that bad shit in my brain. I just need an ear, or I need a shoulder. I need to cry. Um,
and it's okay to cry and it's okay to talk about your emotions and it's okay to let it out.
absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
I spoke with a guy named Jason Colehart, and he was the founder of New Hope Field of Dreams, and he was kind
Yes.
of doing
Love
the
Jason.
yeah,
Love him.
right. And I've had him on my podcast myself, and I really got to connect with him about the same issues that are going on for PTSD. And it is, you are right, man, this is a big problem and there needs to be a positive change for this.
Yep.
And I do find that we just keep blowing it off, we keep swiping it off the table. But however, if we keep swiping off the table these discussions, then it's going to be a big problem for the future.
Yep.
Because I don't know, man, like, management doesn't have your back, the coworkers don't really communicate, and there needs to be more acceptance, and and I
I
and
think.
I and I do say, like, some facilities within Alberta for law enforcement have been improving on this, but there still needs to be much more improvement for how they're handling it and how they're dealing with it. Um,
Right.
and I really do think that they should be adding these things on a daily basis. It shouldn't be something that you should just do when you're getting hired. It should be something that you're doing annually. Your mental health is changing constantly. When's
Yep.
the last time that your
It's
supervisor came up to you and said, "Hey, are you having a bad day?" Hey,
Yeah.
um,
Or how are
what?
you doing?
Yeah,
How are you? How are you doing? How are you doing after this incident? Let's go chat. You know what? Just start a conversation. Um, I have to say, the management that I deal with directly I have been awesome. Um, you know what? Great people. I'm blessed to work in an office that great support. There's probably, really 15 to 20% of the guys in there that don't want to engage in a conversation, and they'll avoid the conversations. But you know what? Management's been solid. I'm very blessed to have, when I got taken out of the work environment by my doctor, my my experience with WCB has been top notch. I was uh, fortunate enough to get hooked up with a psychologist who understands the emergency service world. My occupational therapist works with first responders. So, the trek for me, never realizing I was going to be here in life going through the WCB process, I was scared because I had heard so many bad stories, and not necessarily from Alberta, but other provinces where it is
it's
bad.
been
They
nightmares. It's been problems, and
it's
even going through that process, like there should be before going into the WCB process, there should be immediate assistance. Like there shouldn't be like you shouldn't be like, hey, I'm ready to commit suicide, but can you wait a week? Right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
no, like literally, right? And there's
yeah,
people there are people that are suffering. There's people that are up in Northwest Territories, Nunavut, all across Canada. We're forgetting that the fact that people are isolated for over a year and a half. People need
yep.
love and people need care, and sadly we haven't been providing that,
Yep.
right? And
And that's,
yeah.
that's got to start.
Hmm.
My I advocate for mental health, emotional well-being. Um, and like this stuff affects everybody, every walk of life. Um, Mental health affects us all. Um, I had to get pulled back into, what can I represent at the moment, and where can I hope to make change? And it's the emergency service and military communities, not just in Canada but the United States. And we've got to start with, really we've got to start at that grade 8 or 9 level, where we start promoting taking care of each other. We when the kids are shifting from junior high into high school, and the stress and the bullying and the BS that goes with it, um, you know let's pull everything back. And you know what? Sure, somebody may appear different to you, but that doesn't give you the right to judge somebody else. Take their good qualities out. If they're struggling, then reach out to them. Take care of them. Look out for the signs. And then, once we get through high school, and the stress of, oh geez, I've got to get my grades up there so I can get college, university. There's more stress. The stress that comes from your parents to do better in life, all those pressures. How do we just take care of people as people? And then when we go to, our training academy, or to depot for the RCMP, paramedic school, EMT school, fire school, before we even get issued a pair of boots to shine or a pair of pants, you know what? We're going to spend a couple days talking about mental health, the signs to look for in your partner when you realize the signs yourself, and you can start asking for help. So if we, my hope is, within a generation, um, maybe not the next generation of emergency service personnel or military, but maybe 2 generations, is now we're looking out for each other continuously. We are not afraid to ask for help, because it is put into our minds that when we're feeling hurt, there's the operational stress injury, PTS, whatever's going on, whether it's at work or at home. We are so comfortable reaching out to anybody else in uniform, or a doctor or a nurse, um, any human being. It's like, man. I'm asking for help or I need a conversation. So um, there's no more separation where I hate to say it, I hate using the word, but you have these narcissistic people that get promoted and nothing bothers them, nothing affects them. It's at some point in their life it will affect them, but they just sort of shun you. They're like, you know what, Chad's weak. And guess what, guys? Because I'm the supervisor, you better take my side and not Chad's side. So what do? You follow the lead. It's like, yeah, Chad's nothing. We'll just kick him to the curb because he can't deal with stuff. Because people are afraid to get shunned by a supervisor, or is this the end of my career because I spoke out or because I sided with, there's the quotation mark, somebody who's weak. So if we can start the programs at that junior high level, um, and move forward into our first couple days of training's going to be stressful. You're out of your home element. You're thousands of kilometers away from home in this new environment with a bunch of strangers, and it's going to be stressful. We are going to put pressure on you. We're going to call you bad names. We're going to make you shine your boots. We're going to punish you with push-ups. But understand, if you need to talk, we are here as instructors, as recruits, and then it goes right into the workforce. So you just look at, you know, in a corrections facility, hey, you know what? Chad wears the same uniform as me. Bro, I know we don't know each other, but I need to talk. Hey, yeah, absolutely. We're all in that same mindset of taking care of each other. Um, it's so huge. And back in the day, I hear the stories from when my dad was um, in his younger years with the RCMP. The end of the day, after bad situation, it is, you know what, we're getting the bottle of whiskey or a bottle of rum out. We are going to talk about everything that we just went through because we're not taking that shit home. So where did that change? Why? Why is why are our careers now about me and not about we? So we have to take care of each other. We're just going to keep collapsing. We're going to keep having these emergency service and military suicides because we're too afraid to speak.
And it's getting worse and worse and worse. Like, I don't know about like what you've been seeing, but over the news and over everything that's been going on, it seems to be getting much more intense. And it's starting to be frightening. And it's
Yeah,
starting to really scare the shit out of me, to be honest. And that's one of the reasons why I really focused on this topic, because it hits home, because I work with these guys, and like, I know what it feels like in this position, and I know what it's like to be who they are, and I understand that people think that we can just deal with our own emotions, but we can't. We
no,
can't just deal with our own emotions, and it's just crazy that nobody, not even management, not even directors, nothing. Like, there's no one that is really having our back,
yeah,
and you see it getting worse and worse, and the only way that we can really do it is by us creating that change, by us actually going out and enforcing it amongst our coworkers, amongst each other, and say, hey, you know what, man, if you're having a bad day, bro, give me a call, give me a text. There's
yeah,
nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be friends with everyone you work with, obviously, like your example, right?
yeah,
But however, at the end of the day, you know coworkers, you should treat everyone with respect. And if there's someone saying, hey, I'm down, like, if there is an emergency situation and your partner is being assaulted because of something that's going on, do you wait a little bit, or do you go in and assist right away? And that's the same approach that we need to make about mental health. Just because we're dealing with codes and situations and we debrief about the codes saying, oh, okay, how do you feel, like, are you okay from this? Anyways, you should be asking about, how do you feel?
yeah,
Why? Like, what are you feeling right now? Like, do you feel sad? Do you feel angry? Are you feeling like they should be doing some form of assessment? I'm not an
yeah,
expert in any way, but however, I do think that there should be an assessment. Like, like, if it was a very serious situation, should make sure that first responders are being assessed properly.
absolutely.
And the
Yep.
thing is why do we assess the public so much more than our own officers?
I, I hear you. And
right?
I will say this, my psychologist, thankfully, I mean, he supports this walk across Canada. He's like, man, this is the best thing ever. Same as my occupational therapist. But when in chatting with my psychologist, he asks exactly the same question. Why are people in the emergency service world not assessed every year? We take in so much shit, and over the last couple months, like there's stuff that triggers shit in my brain that I haven't thought about in 15 or 16 years. That was at the time a minor thing. It just gets filed away, man. And all of a sudden I get a nightmare of somebody's face that goes right back to that amount of time ago, and where nobody asked me at the end of the shift, man, how are you after that? It's just, yeah, okay, I'm just going to go home and I'm going to sit on my couch. I'm going to fester um, over what I had gone through, and I'll file it away. You know what? I'll have 6 rum and coke until I'm tired. Then I'll, self medicate. I'm going to go to sleep and wake up the next day. I'm going to go to work, get there an hour early, suit up, hit the road again, and then something else is going to happen. But as minor as it might seem, that shit gets filed away in your brain, and it will come back to bite you in the ass. Um, so yeah, annual assessments, or after a bad event, it's you as a team sit down with your supervisor and talk it out. And if you need more, then you know what, yo, soup, I need. I'm going to go talk to my doctor, or the supervisor's going to reach out. And having, I got to say, and I know it's not just um, with uh, with the province of Alberta, with an outside agency who are, I don't know what they are, grief counselors or something, that will make a phone call. You know what? If you're reaching out to me because somebody reached out to you to say, hey, call Chad, he went through a bad incident, then you better fucking know what my incident is. Do not ask me what my incident. Like
Yeah, no, you're
I,
right. You're right. You're
right?
100% right. Like if there's a situation, they should definitely maybe like inform the person before actually like interrogating you, because like they
Yeah.
don't know what state of mind you're in,
No,
right?
well, man, I'll tell you. Well, basically, it was. I
Right?
didn't. It was about 3 hours before our critical incident debrief, and I was. You know what? My inspector had told me, hey, I reached out to. We'll just leave it blank. So they'll probably get in touch with you. Hey, that's great. Within half an hour, I get a phone call. Oh, hey, Chad, it's so and so with blank. I'm like, hey. She goes, so I heard you went through a traumatic experience. I'm like, that is an understatement. Oh, tell me what happened. Like, no, dude, I'm on the phone with you. I have no idea who you are. You're reaching out to me. You should fucking know what I went through, and I don't want to talk to you about it. Oh, well, we're full of resources. Yeah, I bet you are. But you have no idea what I went through, and I'm not ready to talk to you, a stranger, over a phone. I haven't even gone through my critical incident debrief with my brothers to, see how everybody else is doing. So it was, well, can I email you some resources? That does, I'm sorry. And I know with, with our governments and our agencies, it's a tiny step in the right direction to have something in place for us, but it's just not proper. It's got to be, um, hey, you know what? We've got an office in Calgary or Edmonton or Red Deer, Lethbridge, wherever. Do you have an hour and just come in and talk to us? I just read everything that you went through. And if you need to talk about it, talk about it. I'm just here. I'm just somebody, and we'll help you get the right help, instead of you're asking me what I went through. Um,
It's third party
blew it,
information,
yep. It blew
right?
me away. It really blew me away. And like,
It's like
wow.
it's like you called the police, but then a security guard comes up.
Yeah, that's,
You
you know what?
know?
And so I respect the fact that we're moving in the right direction, but is the question. And because nobody speaks up about it, the people upstairs are thinking, well, we're doing something right because nobody's come back and complained about it. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying that wasn't the tool for me. That was just not the tool for me after going through basically a bomb scene. Like this is, man, I did my short stint in the armed forces. Fortunately, I didn't have to go overseas and bear witness um, to what our soldiers across the world have to go through. I can't imagine. But to me, that bus crash was a war zone. It was horrible, and just a handful of us without the tools to do our job. And now you're somebody over a phone reaching out to me, telling me to asking me to tell my story. No, no, that's not how it works. But we are in a step in the right direction. I get, man, people from all over North America that reach out and say, our problem is our agency, whether it's a municipal force, state force, whatever. Hey guys, we just gave an extra $25,000 in the budget towards mental health for our police force. What the fuck does $25,000 do? Really?
Just
And
fuck all.
continuous. It's nothing. It's not even a drop in the bucket. We
Yeah.
When you look at all these agencies and you say, okay, every agency is short staffed because everybody is on mental health leave. Like, what is this $25,000 doing? It's gone in 5 minutes. And then you've got to pay. Here's where I try and do the math. If we've got 10 members off who are on leave for a mind injury, they're off long term. So now we're short 10 people. So we bring in the people that are active to work time and a half or double time, plus the members that are off through benefits or WCB are being paid a paycheck. So what is the cost associated to being off work with our injuries? So it's totally like the law enforcement world now. We no longer have um, proactive policing. We have reactive policing. We're not out walking the streets anymore looking for crime or preventing crime. Is we're reacting to um, situations.
And it needs to be in reverse. We need to be proactive. We need to start
That's
being.
that's right. So and that with the mental health program for any agency, any military, it doesn't matter what uniform you wear, or a smock, or doctors and nurses and LPNs. Like, man, it has to be proactive. We need to start at the beginning so we're not going through this shit later on.
I couldn't agree more, man. Like, you're spot on. And it's just a shame that in your situation, nobody actually like took the time to hear you out. Never took the time to actually like say, "Hey, man, like, are you okay?" Right?
Yeah,
And
simple question.
yeah, and like you said, your brothers that were involved in the incident that you talked about, right? And they're your brothers today. You guys went to that fishing trip. You guys did create yourself a better environment for you to express about your problems and issues. A lot of people say going out for fishing, well, what do you like? You're not going to learn anything. If anything, it's going to teach me how to calm myself down. If anything, it's going to
Yeah,
teach me how to kind of take myself back for a second and just realize saying, hey, okay, like I need to focus on me. I can't
yeah,
focus on the community. I can't focus on anything right now. I got to focus on me. And
that's right.
and a lot of the time we have a relationship with our work and we adapt that relationship with our lifestyle, but we never it's like you start ending up like your job and then you just totally forget your identity and you forget who
That's
you
right.
are. And people start breaking down being like, okay, well, I don't even know what I like to eat anymore because I'm at work, or I've been overthinking this one event over my head over and over and over again, to the point where it's now affecting my relationship with my family. It's affecting my relationship within my role, and I'm really glad that like today I had the privilege to actually like talk to someone that gives a fuck and someone that actually like no, but like that really
Yeah,
cares, you know. And
Yep.
And like, when I did speak to Jason, he was exactly on the same page, and I want to keep collaborating with people all across the world about this, like you. And I really want to try to inspire and make change, because you are right, man. The system is broken, and the only
Yep.
way for us to get back up is by us trying to provide the services that you offer, from C2C for PTSD, and for
Yep.
what you're going to offer in your message, and for what your company is going to do for you. And it's going to expand. It's going to be so beautiful when you see the end product, because everybody, including myself, is behind you on this. And I really am happy to see that you are in your passion, that you are inspiring your goals. This is something that a lot of people forget to do:
Yep.
inspire and create change for yourself. Just because you have a career doesn't mean that you stop dreaming, doesn't mean that you
That's right.
stop actually start. Like, does that kind of make sense to you? You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
try to like actually make some goals for yourself, whether if you like hunting, whether if you like fishing, whether if you like going out with your wife and doing a dance class. It doesn't matter, but you got to make that time for yourself. If you don't make that time for yourself, your mental health is going to decline, and it's just going to keep declining because you're not making any alternative health methods for yourself to be successful. And
That's right.
on top of that, right? Like, people say, yeah, go to the gym, you'll feel better. Go do this, you'll feel better. But again, that's just basic advice. It's not actually fixing the problem. It's a band aid to the problem. Yes, it's going to
That's
help
right.
me right now. It's a band aid. And yes, it's healthy. Yes, it's a great way. And I agree that, within the role within law enforcement, you should be in good shape. But however, in the circumstances of your mind, in the circumstances of how you went through that situation, nobody but yourself can relate to that situation. I can't relate to your situation. Nobody can. Unless you were
No.
actually there, I can't relate to it. But what I can do is have empathy on that situation and say, hey, you know what, brother? I'm here for you, and I want to help you. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with saying something like that. And I think a lot of guys tend to forget to do that in law enforcement. And I think a lot of guys are starting to not not really do it. You know what I mean? And over time it is getting better. Like, I have seen some people stepping up to the plate, like throughout Canada and throughout other places like you've been talking about. It's been starting to pop a little bit, but there still needs to be way more awareness. There still needs to be way more drive towards your topic and towards everything that you're offering. And it was like, it's insane, man.
It absolutely is. But you know what? Like I say, change starts now. Change starts with us, right? It's if 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 we're not starting the change now, our next generation of emergency service or military personnel, it's going to be worse. What do we learn now? I'm watching my grandkids grow up. iPads, PS4s, Xboxes. It's everything is focused on electronics and separation from being outside with other human beings. So now we're taking these youngsters. They're going to go through school with, oh, you know what? It's break time. I'm going to play on my, I don't know, whatever the games are called nowadays, but
Yeah.
they're going to be on their devices playing a game, sitting in imagine a cafeteria where you should be having fun, eating your lunch, starting food fights. Um, but everybody's just silent because they're on their devices playing games or sending texts. We've we're disconnecting from each other, and then those people are going to be like, man, I want to get into law enforcement. I want to be a paramedic or a firefighter. You go to training, and you have no idea how to deal with another human being that you're in class with, or how do you go out into the world. You get your uniform, you get your fast car, you get your gun, and you go to a call, and you can't react to another human being as a human being. You're like a robot. I'm trained to do this, and there's no emotion, there's no empathy, there's nothing. You're not a human being dealing with a human being. So if we don't start this mental and emotional well-being stuff now, where we take care of other human beings, I tell you, it's going to be really shitty over the next 10 years. So, how do we fix it? I don't know. I just say one step at a time, but it does start with our generation of law enforcement, or emergency services, period, is take care of one another, or man, we are going to fucking fail. And who's to blame? You know,
It's us.
who's to blame? It's us. We just disconnected as human beings. So yeah, it's I can my brain is just racing all the time as to how to fix it. What are the problems? How do we um, counteract those problems? But we have to start the change now. And you know what? It starts with a conversation. You cannot be ashamed of your story that has given you that injury, um, because by sharing your story, you might inspire somebody else or motivate them. You might inspire somebody else to start talking about their injury or reaching out for help, where they might be 5 or 10 years overdue for getting it. But now it's like, holy shit, if this guy, whoever the fuck this Chad guy is, just one day says, I want to see change, and I'm just a guy, but how do we get there? Nobody else is doing it. So I'm going to be a voice. I'm going to, don't know if I'll be successful. I will be successful walking the country. I know to embrace the suck that way, but who's going to be listening? Who's going to be watching? I don't know. I hope the right um, people in political power are watching. The right people in the management of whatever service is watching, and just take notes. Like, man, you might have gone through your career. You might have spent 2 years on the road as a junior member in whatever service, and then you started promoting. So you didn't, you spent 2 years of this, but now you're not walking in our shoes. Like, those boots are not laced up. Those boots you kicked off to the side for your, behind the desk kind of shoes, slippers, whatever you're wearing behind your desk, and you have disconnected from your troops. So and it's not that person's fault. It's the process. So hopefully the right people watch, man. As we call them everywhere, the white shirts, the management. Hopefully they're watching, and somebody steps up and says, um, "Yeah, we need to make a change, and how are we going to make it happen?" So that's it. As long as I can inspire one person to share their story, and start a conversation in the workplace, man, it's mission accomplished.
Yeah, and you're inspiring change. And by you going and walking across the entire country, you're going to create huge change for law enforcement. You're going to actually make the real change that needs to happen. And I'm really excited to even have the opportunity to even speak with you. I have the opportunity to even chat with you before you do this, because I'll definitely be talking to you after this. Like, after
Or
when you do
during.
this
You
and
know what?
during.
Give me a call
Yeah.
when I'm walking the road. Maybe you should get your ass down here and do some walking with me.
Yeah, maybe I should. Right?
Maybe you
Maybe
should. There's
maybe
a
I should.
challenge for you.
I don't know. I haven't worked out in several months, so I don't know. We'll see.
It's just a walk.
Yeah, it's just a walk. But if we can get 100 members to join us, if we can get you know whatever numbers that we can to assist with this, right? I think at the end of the day, if we get the proper numbers to assist with this, it's going to be way better for everyone. It's going to be way better for you. It's going to be better for your cause and change. In this podcast, I'm going to make sure to provide your links below, and I'm going to follow your content, and really subscribe and follow what you're doing, because you are changing lives. You are going out and taking the time to walk across Canada to make this change. And it's beautiful. And people need to see this, because not a lot of people would say, hey, you know what? A man from Alberta is going across Canada. You never heard that
Yeah.
before. And it's for
No.
what? And it's for PTSD awareness. Like, what? Like, people would be like, why? And then this is the reason why we're having this talk. That's the reason why we're creating this change now. People like Jason Colehart and people like you
Yeah.
are changing the world. And I want to keep inspiring change, and I want to talk to individuals that have been involved with serious incidences throughout their career, but also how did they handle and manage it, right? And I really believe the way that you're doing it is by creating your passion and dream to walk across Canada and to inspire change for people's lives. And I'm so happy that you're able to accomplish your dreams. I'm really happy that you're able to accomplish what's going to make you happy, you know?
Yeah.
and it's not a job, it's not someone else, this is what your passion, this is your goal, and it's a privilege, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man.
So just side note here, September 13th of this year, we'll be doing the Alberta leg only of SeatoSea, just as a trial run to see, what is good for footwear, what obstacles we're going to face, and how, construction pops up on a highway. How are we going to interact or make a quick change there, change routes? Yeah, so it's the trial run. Um, and then obviously April 2022, I'll repeat the Alberta leg because I'm walking from sea to sea. I'm not going to skip Alberta because I'm doing it once, but um, yeah, maybe you know what, come down, spend a few hours walking with me or a day or two, and you know what, live it. We'll do an
Yeah.
interview while we're walking. We'll
No,
have
and
fun with it.
no, and I'd love to, see how you spread awareness, and I'd love to show how you show love towards first responders, and
Yeah,
how you want to create change, man. And it's great, and I hope that everyone can hear this, and I'm gonna try to spread as much content as I can to help you out. As a side note, like, I'm just letting you know that, like, I'll try my hardest on my end to, you know really spread
yeah,
your
brother.
name, right? And it's
Thank
good,
you.
right?
Thank
Like,
you for that.
yeah. Yeah, and, like, for real, man, like, I do have a passion for saving lives just like you, and, I'm young and I can do this for 25 years. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I'm young now, so, like, I might as well start.
yeah,
And I think that, if I can carry on your message and carry on the other messages that are going beyond within Canada, the world, and how we're living today, I think we can really create change. And
I believe we can.
and that's the real health, right? That's going to be what's going to be really healthy for individuals.
Yeah,
Once again, I'd like to thank you for listening to my show, and I'd like to thank you for listening to my content. Once again, follow and subscribe to Lyfe Boost. Thank you all.